Hi, my name is Bethany Stahl, and I am a full-time author and illustrator. Today, I'm going to be answering one of the most frequent questions I get asked, but before we jump into today's video, I do want to explain a little bit about my Patreon page. So if you are a self-publisher looking for more in-depth tips, tricks, documents, contracts, all these sorts of tools to help you out on your self-publishing journey, go ahead and check out patreon.com/Bethany Stahl. Here's where I put additional information that accompany these videos for you to use and help you along with your journey. You will also gain access to all of the classes listed on BethanyStahl.com/classes. And I am now doing monthly live stream workshops to help you in a one-on-one setting where I can work with you on things such as your website development, illustrations, and much more. So if you are interested in diving deeper into your self-publishing journey, go ahead and go over to patreon.com/Bethany Stahl. So one of the things I get asked all the time is, how did I come up with the idea of the Save the Earth series? How did I name it? How do I know what titles to publish next? And basically, how did that happen? It's really strange because it happened unexpectedly. I completely did not plan to write a series. What had happened was one night I was invited to an elementary school to read my book, Carrie the Long-Leggedy Chickadee, which is the second book I published. That book did surprisingly well in schools, and I was going all over the place traveling with that book in schools. And it was a lot of fun, but I, at that point, still wasn't sure if I necessarily wanted to be an author. I wasn't sure if that was going to be my full-time career. At that point, I also did not consider myself to be an author. I was sort of just having fun with writing books at that point, and that was pretty much the extent of it. After Carrie, I hadn't really planned to do anything else. And if you've listened to my story before, you know the whole reason why I started figuring out how to publish was because I wanted to publish a coloring book, which never happened. So at this school reading, after I finished my book, one of the students raised their hand and he was asking questions, and it was really cool. And I always do a question and answer after I read books, whether that's about being an author or an illustrator or just more about the book. I love to share that with the kids and just let them have open-ended questions. That way they can ask whatever they want. And I was talking to them and we got on the topic of like, what books do you actually want to see? Like, what would you like to learn about? And a few chatters opened up, but then this boy who was really interested raised his hand and he's like, I would love to see a book about the ocean. It's like, yeah. I mean, I love the ocean. My background is I have a ton of biological ocean experience, and I'm a scuba diver, and I grew up on the beach, and I just am ocean obsessed. So I thought, yeah, that's a great idea. And I started thinking that that would be something that I can use my science background, I can use my personal background, and I can create them into this new path I was following of authorship and illustration, and I thought it was really cool. So I went home that night, opened up my laptop, and I wrote Save the Ocean. I also illustrated it that night within 24 hours. I did not sleep until that book was finished, and that book to this day is still my best-selling book. And I think why it hits so hard is not because of the topic. I've gotten a lot of you who have been interested in trying to copy all the fonts and try to copy the style of the book, because it's like, oh, if this book is selling, if I copy it exactly. I've even gotten emails. I get an email at least once a week of people telling me that they're just going to rip off my book and rewrite it. It's not going to work for everyone. Why I think this book, why I know this book has worked so well is because it's where my passion lies. I had knowledge of the ocean, I had knowledge of conservation, I've worked within conservation. That was my life. And by putting that into a book, that's why it shines so much, is because I care. And you can tell when somebody cares in a book, even if it's a children's book, you can tell if the author was really into it or if they weren't. And I'm super into conservation. I love it. I love animals. I love all things environmental oriented. So that is right up my alley. That book is not going to work for people who don't care about the environment, they don't care about the oceans, or they don't care about current world problems happening. And that's fine. You don't have to care about that. Just find what you do care about and write about that, and then that's going to be a best-selling book. The font, the design, all of that stuff, as long as it's pretty, it doesn't matter. You do not have to use the same thing I did. In saying that, I wrote Save the Ocean to be a one-off book. Again, I still wasn't sure if I wanted to be an author at that point, and I really loved Save the Ocean. I did think it was special, and I had a lot of fun with it, but I never expected it to do this well. And at this point, it came out 2 years ago now, and it's still performing like it did the first week it launched. And that book made me become a full-time author. That totally changed where my income was coming from, and it changed everything for me. So I decided to write Save the Arctic, which was me attempting to make it into a series. It still didn't have a series name, but I figured, you know what, let's try this again. And it worked. Save the Arctic is literally right behind Save the Ocean with sales. And I did it again with Save the Bees, which is actually right in between Save the Arctic and Save the Ocean. Those three are performing near identically. And it's because I had an audience who knew what I was writing about. I had an audience who cared what I was writing about, and I had knowledge of these books, and I'm creating these books uniquely for me and my audience. I'm not looking at anybody else's books to write a book about that. You have to write what's true to you. Don't look at what's best-selling, because if you write what's best-selling, it's already best-selling. You're not going to take their place. And if you do, it will be a ton of hard work, and it will be more rewarding if you write something that you care about. So in saying all of this, just write what matters to you. And that's how I get my next ideas for my books, is I just go based off of my experiences. I'm composting in my backyard, so I wrote Save the Scraps about composting. I built a bee house, so I wrote Save the Bees. You know, I worked in the ocean doing recycling and conservation, so I wrote Save the Ocean. I just am using all of my experiences, all of the things I've done, and putting them into individual stories. And this can be done through anything, whether they're just silly fun stories or anything like that. I'm starting Meeko's Nutty Tales series, which is a really fun retelling of classic stories, and maybe some that aren't so classic, told in crazy ways with crazy twists and turns, as told by my squirrel, Meeko. So I did have a southern flying squirrel for 18 years, and that series is based off of stories I imagined he was telling my pets every single night, because they would all just sit around and watch him every single night. So I always joked that he was telling crazy stories, and again, it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I have all these stories in my head of things I've joked about him telling my animals over the years. And that series is going to write itself very similarly to how Save the Earth just keeps writing itself. I think I have at least 50 books planned for my Save the Earth series, and I don't even know if that will be the end of it. So just write what you care about, and that's how it starts. And you don't have to use the same character. So I love the Save the Earth series in the fact that my characters change book to book, and characters pop in and out of different books. So Kalisha's back in Save the Sharks, Agwe's back in Save the Sharks, Amari makes an appearance in Save the Sharks, and then Save the Scraps has the reappearance of Mateo and Clover. And all the series are going to keep intertwining. So I have a cast of characters that are in different stories. each character is responsible for something else, which I really love. But in Meeko's Nutty Tales, Meeko is always going to be the storyteller. We're going to have the same bunch of marsh creatures in every story, and then the only new character introductions will be with the oncoming of whoever the story is about. So Meeko's Nutty Tales is sort of a story in a story. But be unique and be creative. If you write something that somebody else has written, it's not going to go far. If I rewrite the Harry Potter series, nobody will care because Harry Potter's already been written. Make it unique, make it your own, and make it something you care about. I hope that has helped enlighten you on a little bit about children's book series and all the different ways you can take it. And I wish you all the best of luck with writing your series. So just stick to you, stick to what makes you feel good inside, and stick to something that keeps inspiring you. Because there's nothing harder than trying to write something that you absolutely hate. I've tried it, I can't do it, so definitely stick to something that you love. I will see you all next time, and if you did like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. If you are looking for more information about publishing, go over to BethanyStahl.com/classes to see a huge collection of information that I have gathered for you, separated out into topics. Now, most of these classes are free to access, but there are a few that are exclusive to my self-pub patrons. If you do want to join that, go over to patreon.com/BethanyStahl, where you can join and get access to the classes, as well as other behind-the-scenes tips, tricks, and documents that are exclusive to that squad. If you are trying to get into contact with me to ask questions, the best place to do that would be Patreon. I do see all of those messages and comments first, and I am able to reply to those almost immediately. So that is the best place for more individualized help. I hope this video has helped, and I will see you all next time.